Today I'm going to rate and rank all of the official posters for this year's Best Picture nominees. Bear in mind, I'm talking about the official posters. I know there are so many really cool alternate ones that you can find online, but I'm just going to talk about the official ones that come standard on IMDb and Letterboxd when you log the film. Alright, first up we have Begonia. I kinda love this poster, I'm not gonna lie. This is a work of art, if you ask me. It's visually striking and it's memorable right off the bat. I love this lead image, and so much of what they're doing with the honey here actually communicates the ideas of the film and the themes. I know that it's a little bit on the nose if you've seen the film, but in my opinion, it's not terrible to be a little bit on the nose with these things. I love a movie poster that makes more sense after you've seen the movie. It should be visually appealing enough to get you into the theater, but then when you walk out of the theater having been changed by the film and you see the poster again, it has a whole new meaning. And Begonia is honestly like a perfect example of that. I love this image, I love the thematics, I love this font, it's so much fun. Honestly, my only critique here is that I wish they had maybe paid a little more respect to the incredible performances from Jesse Plemons and Aidan Delby, but at the same time, that would have taken away from how strong this image is, so I'm pretty happy with it. We're gonna start off by giving Begonia an 8 out of 10. I love this poster. Alright, next up is F1, and I would say that the F stands for fine. This is not terrible, but it's definitely not doing much for me. Colors are super muted and dull and kind of dreary. Like, it definitely doesn't communicate the energy and the vivaciousness of the movie, which is a real shame because this film is a hoot and a half. It was so much fun in the theater. I still think it's incredibly funny that it just says from the director of Top Gun Maverick, Brad Pitt. It doesn't even say the name of the director. If you don't know that much about movies, are you gonna walk into it thinking Brad Pitt directed it and also directed Top Gun Maverick? This is totally forgettable, like genuinely, about as mid as it can get. I know they probably wanted this poster to be able to appeal to like anybody on planet Earth, but I think they just really missed an opportunity to do something unique and cool here. I don't think this is a train wreck of a poster. It's serviceable, but it's definitely not exciting and it's not artistic, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. All right, moving on to Frankenstein, and this time the F stands for... This is awful. You know, this is kind of a divisive film this year, and I'm on the side thinking that it's really not very good, so maybe that's clouding my judgment a little bit, but wow, this is terrible. I just think with how good the production design and the costuming was in this movie, you could have gotten so creative and had like these beautiful, like deep, textured, oh man, there's just, it could have been so much better. And the font is just like kind of slapped on there. It doesn't feel like incorporated. It feels like they found this font on Canva and just like kind of plopped it on there. I think this is a train wreck. I kind of hate this. I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. Sorry if you liked the movie, but no, dude, this is a no. All right, now we have Hamnet. This is a good poster, just point blank. I love this lead image. It is sumptuous and, you know, verdant. It is really representing the movie that I watched. It gives you a good, memorable tagline that kind of piques my interest without being like too in your face, like, ha, here's what my movie's about, you know? And then it just very elegantly tells you the names of the 2 stars of the film and leaves it at that. I would say this poster is elegant and has poise, and it is a little bit simple, obviously, because it's just an image. Sometimes I want more from a poster, whereas with one like this, representing this particular film, to have done more for this would have been a mistake. This is beautiful. I think this is something you could hang up in your home and it wouldn't be weird. This is a work of art while also doing justice to the film. So I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is really quite good. Next up, we have Marty Supreme. I'd say that the lead image of Chalamet here is pretty strong. It does a decent job of communicating the dark, kind of textured cinematography of the movie, as well as giving you like a subtle implication of the period through even just like what he's wearing there, and with the glasses I can just vaguely make out that this is a period piece without it having to like shout that at me. The one thing that I do quite like about this poster is that it's the only one we'll talk about today that has these little boxes at the bottom for all of the supporting cast and the supporting characters. I tend to think that when a movie has so many great performances performances, the posters should, for the most part, do a little bit of justice to all of those incredible performances, not just the lead. I like what they're doing here with the typography and kind of that iconic dream big type of thing that they did with Marty Supreme that's become incredibly recognizable. That was just good branding. I think this movie had a lot of really good branding, but this poster doesn't quite get there. I don't know why they didn't do anything with the iconic orange that they made such a fuss about, and I also don't understand why they didn't do anything with ping pong. I'm guessing they were afraid that people wouldn't go to a movie about ping pong. They were probably correct, but at the same time, I don't want to go into a movie theater and be like, wait, what is this movie about? I don't think this poster is especially bad, but it definitely could have been better, and considering all of the interesting things they did during their promotional rollout, it just feels like a missed opportunity to me. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have One Battle After Another. I love this movie. I do not love this poster. What is this, dude? What? What? Who thought this was a good idea to put Leo's face so big like that? I think this one kind of speaks for itself. The giant inflated balloon head of Leonardo DiCaprio is just ludicrous. This movie is so good and so artful, and they chose to turn the poster into like a really bad version of like a Marvel like superhero poster where we need like the floating heads or something, but then it's only one floating head. It just makes no sense. I think the only redeeming qualities here are that the colors are kind of beautiful and lush and striking, and the road at the bottom is obviously a nice hint at what happens in the movie. So it's not a 0 by any means. I think it does communicate the tonality of the film, and that it's an action movie, and that it's about the father and the daughter, yada yada. But man, this is just like ugly and weird and just frankly awkward. Like, I bet DiCaprio is like embarrassed by this, and he should be. You could have told me that he was in the movie in so many different interesting ways. You didn't just need to have a disembodied head just like floating there in order to get me into the theater. It makes no sense. Who on earth thought this was a good decision? This is quite bad. I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 10. All right, moving on to The Secret Agent. I think this is pretty solid. I like the nod to kind of older posters. There's a long legacy of posters kind of using this design schematic, and that makes a lot of sense for a film that is set in the past. I really like Wagner Moura in this film, and he looks great here. It communicates the time period, it communicates that something is wrong, it communicates that this is probably kind of a spy thriller kind of thing with the phone booth, but at the same time, I don't totally understand what's going on here, but in the right kind of way, I think, where I don't need to know what's going on here. I love the bare bones approach of just pairing a great image with a good tagline, a year of great mischief. You have my attention. I would say out of all of these posters we've talked about, this might be the one that's the most like, oh wow, I wonder what happens in that movie. I need to go see it to find out. I think my only real complaint here is that it's so busy on the bottom. The weighting and the balance of the typography is just kind of all over the place and just makes it feel kind of like heavy, in my opinion. I love what's going on top, but not so much on the bottom, and that's all right. I don't think it like ruins it by any means, but it holds it back from being like really great or iconic. So I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. Moving on to sentimental value. Guys, this is poster making, in my opinion, and maybe I'm biased because I really loved this film, but this is what it's all about for me. Per my note about The Secret Agent, I feel like the weighting of the typography is just so on point here. You could definitely make the argument that this sans serif font is kind of bland or boring and rigid, but I take it more as being unsentimental. It's to the point and it communicates everything that I need. It tells me the title, the stars, the director, and it does all of that without feeling busy. And then these images are just chef's kiss. Cinephile's kiss. Is it simple? Yeah, but I think a lot of the time great art should come across as simple. The art is within the thought that went into making it appear simple. This movie is about generationalism and the things that we pass down, our insecurities, our traumas, and our inability to properly communicate. So it's no surprise that the characters in all of these images are looking in different directions and not actually looking at one another or communicating with each other. They're all kind of in their own separate boxes, on different planets in different generations, living in their own world. I think that is so cleverly representative of what this movie is about. Going back to what I said about Begonia, this is the only other one so far that is like a standalone piece of art before you see the film, and yet after you've seen the film reveals a whole other level of meaning. We get the main characters, we get the ideas, we get the disconnection of family and the ways that things are fractured and kind of like compartmentalized when you don't know how to talk about what is bothering you. I love this poster. I think this is really masterful work. I would hang this on my wall if anybody wants to buy me a copy and send it to me. This is a 9 out of 10. Alright, next up we have Sinners, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this one. We have an incredible lead image with Michael B. Jordan. This is some truly epic movie star but that's all they're really giving us. I think like at best it's communicating that this is an action movie with some otherworldly undercurrents with the tagline Dance with the Devil, but really this is just giving action movie, and this movie is so much more than that. I think this is a good poster. I like the colors, and the bright like blood orange sun is amazing, but I would have loved to get a little more from the supporting cast and a little more about the themes of music. The fact that music is nowhere to be found on this poster is just a missed opportunity in my opinion. I think it's just obvious that they were more interested in selling an action movie than selling a thoughtful piece of art about music and heritage. That's fair because you want to put butts in seats and sell tickets, but I just think this could have been a lot better, and I'm a little bit let down by it. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because it's good, but it could have been way better. All right, now last but not least, we have Train Dreams. I don't hate this one, but it's just kind of whatever. There's so many incredible shots in this movie. It's truly a shame that this is the image they went with. It makes sense that the character is shown like in shadow because he's, you know, kind of figuratively and literally encased in shadow in a lot of the movie. He's running away from the dark sides of himself and the dark sides of his history. But at the same time, this is just boring. It doesn't really do anything to hook me visually. It doesn't really do anything to like make more sense after the fact like I enjoy. The font is okay. It communicates the time period well enough, and I think there's no mistake that this and Frankenstein are our two Netflix entries. They just don't want anything too artful. They want it to be down the middle, and I think that's a shame because it's a really beautiful film. So for that, I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. All right, that's all of them. So I'm gonna go back and rank these from 10 to 1. At 10, we have Frankenstein, which I think is absolutely terrible. At number 9, we have One Battle After Another, which is also pretty darn bad. At number 8 and 7, we have a tie between F1 and Train Dreams. I personally prefer the one for Train Dreams just a little bit more, so I'm going to put F1 at 8 and Train Dreams at 7. From there, we have Marty Supreme at 6. We have another tie between The Secret Agent and Sinners. I probably give a slight edge to Sinners here just because it's pretty iconic, so I'm going to go with Secret Agent at 5 and Sinners at number 4. And now moving into my top 3 favorite movie posters from this year's Best Picture nominees. At 3, we have Begonia. At number 2, we have Hamnet. And at number 1, my personal favorite, Sentimental Value. Alright, that was a lot of fun. Let me know in the comments what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with. Let me know what I got wrong. Like and follow if you want to see more content that kind of bridges the gap between movies and design, because that's sort of my thing. I'll see you on the next one.